Folks, we're continuing our conversation with Laura Boatman and Joyce Guy Harris. And Don Terrell, if you're listening to this, I'm serious. We need you. It's not pretty. Anyway, moving back in, we were talking about the apprenticeship program. And folks, again, if you want to learn more about this program, or if you know somebody who does, check them out at www.buildingc3.com. Again, buildingc3.com. Laura and Joyce, I wanted to touch a little bit more on the myths of the apprenticeship program. The first thing that I heard you guys say is earn while you learn, which is very unusual. Just to make sure I heard it right, I can attend an apprenticeship program and you're going to pay me while I learn to be a sheet metal worker. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and again, this is outreach that you're doing. You're not a training program, you're not a recruiting program, but throughout California there is a need for construction workers. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a big need for them.
And if one program was impacted, let's say Oakland, the union there is not hiring, would I be correct then in saying there is a sheet metal workers union somewhere in California that is looking for people?
Yes.
It's a common misperception, I think, in our minds that construction is just a bunch of people with tool belts swinging a hammer. But I actually, from what I saw with C.C. Myers and those guys on the 580, it's a whole lot more complicated.
Oh, it's very intricate, and so I think that's the old school mentality, if that's what you see.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about you need to have some type of math skills, when you talk about the fact that nowadays with technology,
mm-hmm.
they're using computers, they actually have cranes that are computerized.
Wow.
So you can't, it's no longer the brutal guy who can't add or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to be able to work with different type of systems of things. And so, like, for example, I love to use this as iron workers. Sure, people think of us and they think as welders,
mm-hmm.
but now there's different type of wire to weld, and you got to understand that, and you have to use the machine, and you have to be able to set it. And so it's beginning to get more technical as the time goes by in our careers.
Yeah, if I could add something to that too, the apprenticeship training centers that are run by the unions throughout California are state of the art.
Mm-hmm.
We actually like to call it Construction U. It's the University of Construction, basically. You could think of it that way. They're all run independently by each trade, but I would encourage people, if you have an opportunity ever to go visit one of these centers, arrange that for yourself and take a look, because I think people will be very surprised to see how remarkable they are. This is not something that is easy to get into necessarily, because everybody's looking for the best and the brightest, and it's very competitive. But if you have the willingness to try it, we encourage everybody to do so.
Folks, aside from dedication, aspiration, and a vision and a willingness to see myself as a construction worker, and Joyce, in your case, a lack of fear of heights, you're not going to see me on the Golden Gate. What are the qualifications you want from your construction applicants or apprentices?
Most of the trades require that you have a high school diploma or a GED,
All right.
that you be at least 18. If the trade is a trade that does some type of testing, we advise the people to brush up on their math skills and go and test, because basically that's what most of it is about math and some mechanical reasoning. Most of the trades tested, and I say except, like, for example, the electricians, they would like you to have a C in algebra on your transcript in high school,
Okay.
from high school, or 1 year of college algebra,
Hmm.
because you're going to be reading schematics and stuff like that. The surveyors, they tend to like you want to have trigonometry, and stuff like
Okay.
that. But basically a lot of fractions, because you do a lot of measurements
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So there'll be a lot of fractions, or the different type of measuring. For example, if you're floor covering, there's a whole different way they measure for carpet and square foot. So and the formulas for that. But it's not like you can't get that help. You have to be willing to go out there and research it, because even though a lot of people don't come in, we talk to thousands of people a year who are interested. They just don't want to sometimes follow through because of requirements.
Well, let me ask a question. In talking with Covenant House, First Place Fund for Youth, and even the Bay Area Youth Center, I've heard that sometimes people have had brushes with the law. What's the general sense on that in terms of being accepted into a program? I know some industries, forget it.
That's like the funniest question, because we are probably the trades, probably those people who don't ask. And, and we have this unwritten thing about us in the trades, but a lot of times in the prisons or where they've been incarcerated, they're doing the work already. So you're coming out with a skill set. We've had people who've come out of being in a prison who had certified welding papers, which is the same as I would get, or any one of you may get from a college or your apprenticeship program. They go right to work, because we know in the trades that you have done the skills. You may not necessarily start as a first period apprentice, you may start as a third because of the work history. So, you know, there's, of course, because of security reasons, there's certain job sites you may not be able to go on, but there's too much work out there that a person cannot make a lucrative living in a career from it.
Laura, then at these job fairs, I would have the impression then you guys are probably being swarmed by people.
Well, that's true in some cases. What we find is that there's just a very great lack of understanding. It's really a lack of public awareness about construction. And as I said at the beginning of this interview, I think people take it for granted. And even if we're not in a period of huge new growth and new construction, we still need people to do the maintenance. We need people available to be on call, for example, like that catastrophe that just happened here in the Bay Area. What would happen if we didn't have skilled workers on, ready to go to work to respond to something like that? So yes, we do get attention, but we have to screen for attention at this point at the career fairs. You got to remember, career fairs cover all walks of life, and our program, we do the best we can. There's 3 of us working statewide on this program, but it's hard to compete with some of the bigger programs out there that are have a lot more resources available to them to broadcast over the whole state. So I think everybody works in their own way. The unions work in their own way. The apprenticeships work in their own way, and we're trying to be like the umbrella that goes out there and promotes all of them. We're not any one specific craft, we're promoting all of them. We're just trying to say, hey, stand up and take a look at us.
Joyce, a question for you. Women in construction, are there?
There's not a lot of women in construction. I happen to receive a number that only 1.7% of all construction workers in California are female. You know, the women in construction is funny because it's like we see Rosie the Riveter, and women don't see themselves actually doing the job. So it's about image. So when I go in somewhere and I'm talking to a group of women, I try to portray the more ladylike, what we like, the makeup and everything else. But then we get into talking about what should, you know, why should that matter if we're paying you $19 an hour or $15? You can always go home and change clothes. Women don't see themselves because they don't see themselves on construction sites. When we see movies around construction, there's always a bunch of men. And so the image to one to string to another. It's either the lady who's got some outfit on that's really something you wouldn't wear in construction, or the construction lady who just looks like she just did 300 pounds. So, but that's not true. So we're always looking for women. We're good at the skills because we pay more attention to detail. So tend to be naturally very good at math, and we're very organized. So we just encourage them on natural gifts that they have.
Laura, last question. What really matters?
What really matters to me, as far as what BC3 does, is that we try to help people, that we help people realize that they can have a really high-paying job with benefits, with pension. They can have a career in construction that will sustain them, that will help them in whatever they want to do in their life.
Joyce, and for you, what really matters?
What really matters to me is how this opportunity can seriously and truly change your life. You know, it gives people a second chance, and I'm just glad that I get the opportunity to go out there and just give people information that they never had, and that they can take it. They may not hear me now, but they'll hear me a month from now, 5 years from now, and say, you know what, I could work construction. One thing that's really strange is we don't get to see the after effect of us going out and giving out our information, but we know we are, you know, being effective in changing people's lives, and that's what really matters to me.
Thank you both, ladies. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.